You're curious about the day the Galactic Academy underwent a dramatic shift. All right, let me recount the tale of Mira Hoffman, the diminutive human girl who, without any physical contact, caused a collective shiver down the spines of an entire classroom filled with ostensibly superior alien life forms. Figuratively speaking, of course, though some of us were on the brink of a literal incident. My designation is Vorkth, and I am, or rather was, among the Academy's most promising scholars. A Krathian, if you insist. We boast a height of 9 feet, possess exoskeletons impervious to plasma rounds, and command 6 limbs capable of pulverizing steel. We are warriors, conquerors, figures of myth across 300 star systems. So when a human child, barely reaching my knee joint, entered Advanced Xenobiology 301, my reaction was entirely predictable. I chuckled, as did everyone else. The human female, Mira, could not have been more than 12 cycles old by their calendar. Her unruly brown hair defied gravity in multiple directions simultaneously. Her attire appeared to have been assembled in the dark, and she carried a backpack nearly as large as her entire body. Her eyes, those unsettlingly agile human eyes, darted around the lecture hall with what I initially mistook for apprehension. I now recognize it as assessment. "Observe," hissed Slick Sarah, a Vinoxian seated beside me. Her bifurcated tongue flickered with amusement. The humans must be desperate for enrollment. Professor Kilverith, a stately Metheran with 14 tendrils and 3 doctoral degrees, adjusted his translation collar. His voice, when it emerged, conveyed the weariness of one who had endured an abundance of bureaucratic absurdity. "Class, please extend a warm welcome to our new transfer student, Mira Hoffman, from Earth. She will be joining us for the remainder of the term." "But Professor," interjected Draximus, a Thoraxian whose species pioneered interstellar combustion engines, "this is a graduate-level course. Is the human even mature enough to comprehend basic molecular reconfiguration?" More laughter ensued. I confess, I joined in. It seemed unfathomable that this being, who appeared more suited to playing with toys than delving into advanced sciences, could possibly offer any meaningful contribution. Mira remained silent. She simply walked, or rather trudged, down the steps to an vacant seat in the front row. The seat adjacent to mine, because, naturally, the cosmos has a peculiar sense of humor. "Do not fret, small one," I offered, my mandibles clicking with what I believed was kindness. "If you find yourself bewildered, I can endeavor to elucidate in simpler terms." She looked up at me, those brown eyes fixed on my face with an intensity that, for a fleeting moment, made me uneasy. "Thanks," she replied, her voice devoid of inflection, "but I believe I will manage." The initial week was agonizing, not precisely due to Mira, but because of her apparent, almost comical inadequacy. During practical examinations, she struggled to reach the laboratory equipment. When we delved into the genetic structure of gamma hydroorganisms, she had to stand on a chair to view the holographic display. During our field assessment of hostile environment protocols, she moved so sluggishly in her protective gear that we literally had to pause for her to catch up. "Why is she even present?" inquired Xynthia, a Plutonian crystalline being, during lunch. We sat in the commissary, observing Mira wrestle to open a food container designed for appendages significantly larger than her small human fingers. "She is patently unprepared for this level of instruction." "I heard," whispered Kororex, lowering his voice conspiratorially, "that humans receive special considerations, diversity initiatives. They aim to appear inclusive, even if it entails lowering standards." I must interject here to express my profound shame at my younger self. But I am narrating this story with candor, and, candidly, I nodded in agreement. Mera, if she overheard any of this, and her species possesses remarkable auditory acuity, never reacted. She consumed her meals in solitude, studied independently, and spoke only when prompted in class. Her responses were invariably accurate, I noted, yet delivered in such a quiet, unremarkably manner that no one seemed to take notice. The true predicament began in week 3. Professor Kilver announced a group project. We were tasked with cataloguing and analyzing an unknown specimen from the outer territories, collaborating in teams of 4. This assignment would constitute 40% of our final grade. I will assign the teams, the professor declared, and collective groans permeated the chamber. Random assignment implied the possibility of being saddled with incompetent partners. Vorketh, Slixara, Draximus, he paused, consulting his datapad. And Mira Hoffman. Perfect. Simply perfect. We convened after class to deliberate on the project. Well, 3 of us convened. Mera stood slightly apart, clutching that enormous backpack. Listen, human, Draximus began, not unkindly, but certainly not gently either. This is a complex assignment. Why don't you just, I don't know, handle the data entry or something straightforward? We'll undertake the actual analysis. I can assist with the analysis, Mera offered. Can you even reach the scanning equipment? Slixara inquired. And honestly, it was a valid question given the girl's stature. I'll figure it out. Look, I interjected, attempting to be the voice of reason. We all desire good grades. No offense, but you are, I gestured vaguely at her small form, limited. Let us manage the technical aspects. You can, I don't know, compose the report or something. For the first time since her arrival, Mera exhibited emotion. Her small jaw tightened, her eyes narrowed, her hands, and I particularly observed this, clenched into fists. Fine, she stated quietly. I will write the report. We should have paid more heed to that tone. The following day, we received our specimen. A bizarre entity from Sector 88, preserved in a stasis field. It resembled a hybrid of a cephalopod and a crystalline formation, adorned with bioluminescent patches and what appeared to be both mechanical and organic components. Fascinating, Professor Killig-Earth remarked as we gathered around. This creature was discovered in the abyssal depths of a methane ocean on Titan's sister moon. Previous analyses have been inconclusive. Your mission is to ascertain its biological classification, evolutionary origins, and, if possible, its purpose. Purpose? That was an unconventional choice of word for a biological entity. We dedicated the subsequent several cycles to our work. Draximus managed the molecular scans. Slixara analyzed the chemical composition. I scrutinized the structural integrity and muscular systems. Mera, true to her assigned role, took notes and remained unobtrusive. Except she didn't remain unobtrusive. Not truly. You are scanning that frequency incorrectly, she declared on the 3rd day. Draximus looked up from his equipment. Excuse me? The resonance frequency. You are utilizing the standard range, but this creature possesses metallic components. You must adjust for electromagnetic interference, or your readings will be erroneous. A prolonged silence followed. The human is correct, Slixara affirmed, checking her own instruments. The readings are corrupted. Draximus adjusted the settings without acknowledging Mera's contribution. It recurred 2 days later. I was dissecting what I believed was a muscular structure when Mera leaned over, observed my holographic display, and stated, "That is not a muscle. It is a nerve cluster that mimics muscular tissue. Observe the synaptic connectors." She was correct. Again. By the end of the first week, a pattern had crystallized. Mayra would quietly observe, remain silent for extended periods, and then offer insights that were invariably accurate. Not merely accurate, but brilliant. "Where are you obtaining this information?" Slick Sarah finally demanded, frustration evident in her tone. "Are you accessing external databases? Because that is against the regulations." Mayra looked up from the notes she was compiling. "No databases, simply observation." "Impossible! No one can derive that level of detail from simple observation." "Humans excel at pattern recognition," Mayra stated simply. She was considerably understating matters. We would soon learn. The breakthrough materialized during week 2 of the project. We had reached an impasse. The creature's purpose, if it had one, eluded us. It exhibited characteristics of multiple phyla, possessed both organic and synthetic components, and defied every classification system we attempted. "We are going to fail," Draximus lamented, a pronouncement from him akin to hearing a star declare it was going supernova. He did not fail at things. "Perhaps we are posing the wrong question," Mayra said quietly. "What?" I turned to face her. "We persist in trying to decipher what it is. Perhaps we should inquire who created it." "That is preposterous," Slick Sarah retorted. "The scans indicated it is biological, not mechanical." "The scans indicated it was both," Mayra corrected. "Biological and mechanical, organic and synthetic. It is not a creature, it is a creation." Silence permeated the room. "Elaborate," Professor Kilver said. He had been observing our group's work and chose that moment to intercede. Mayra rose, approached the specimen, and pointed with one small finger. "The bioluminescent patches are not for communication or attraction. They are markers, tags. The crystalline structure is not a natural formation. It is data storage. The tentacles are not appendages. They are tools. This thing," she tapped the stasis field, "is a probe, an exploration drone designed to appear biological so it would not be immediately identified as artificial." "That is," I began to object, but the words withered in my throat as Professor Kilver began nodding slowly. "Continue," he instructed. "The methane environment was not its habitat. It was where it was abandoned or crashed. Based on the degradation patterns and the isotopic decay in the metallic components, I would estimate it is approximately 4,000 cycles old. Whoever built it," she paused, looking at each of us, "they were very, very advanced. Probably more advanced than any species in this room." She was not merely accurate. She had unraveled the entire enigma that had baffled 3 supposedly superior beings. The professor's face revealed his astonishment, suggesting that I had likely deciphered a long-standing academic enigma. "Miss Hoffman," Professor Kilver began slowly, "where did you pursue your studies before enrolling here?" "I didn't," Mayra replied. "Earth doesn't yet offer formal xenobiology programs. I just," she shrugged, "read extensively. And my mother works for the Planetary Defense Initiative, so we had access to certain first contact documents. Just read extensively, as if synthesizing knowledge from various fields and resolving a 4,000-cycle-old mystery was something anyone could achieve with enough reading. Our presentation, delivered 2 weeks later, was a resounding success. We achieved the highest grades in the class. Mayra, as promised, authored the report. It was so meticulous and brilliant that Professor Kilverth sought permission to publish it in the Galactic Journal of Xenobiological Studies. One might assume this would alter how she was perceived. One would be mistaken. "She got lucky," Corex scoffed. Or perhaps she received unacknowledged assistance. The human is astute, I'll grant her that, observed Ventara, a septarian exchange student. But astuteness doesn't equate to strength, speed, or genuine capabilities beyond mere cerebration. The derision persisted, even intensifying. During physical drills, Mira consistently lagged behind. In zero-gravity maneuvers, she vomited into her helmet twice. During combat simulations, she struggled to lift the standard-issue plasma rifle. Humans are a feeble species, Dreximus declared one day in the commissary, loud enough for Mira to overhear. Physically inferior, their sole advantage lies in a minor aptitude for problem-solving, which is useful in academic settings, but irrelevant in practical applications. Mira, seated alone 2 tables away, continued eating her meal, her expression unwavering. I heard, Slicker added, that on Earth, humans are considered the dominant species only because they lack any real competition. Pit them against actual predators and they crumble. They can't even properly regulate their own body temperature. Corex chuckled. They require clothing and shelter just to survive. I remained silent, though I confess I didn't disagree. Then came the pivotal day, the day we realized humanity's greatest asset wasn't their intellect, but their capacity for connection. Professor Kilworth announced in class, "Next week we will conduct a practical field examination at the Academy's bioreserve. It harbors specimens from 40 different worlds, including several apex predators. You are expected to observe, analyze, and submit reports on predator-prey dynamics within mixed environment ecosystems." "Will we have protection?" inquired a nervous Plutonian student. "The preserve has multiple security protocols and containment fields," Professor Kilworth clarified. "However, yes, each of you will be assigned a security companion from the Academy's protection services." "What about the human?" Dreximus called out. "Will she need special protection? Perhaps a containment bubble?" Laughter filled the room. Mira, as usual, exhibited no reaction. "Miss Hoffman," Professor Kilver asked, "will you require additional safety measures?" Mira glanced up from her notes. "No, Professor, I'm bringing my own companion." "Your own companion? Your pet?" "I submitted the paperwork 3 weeks ago for approval. It was cleared by Administrator Telquith." This was news to all of us. Humans kept pets. That actually seemed perfectly in character for such an emotive species. "Very well," Professor Kilworth conceded. "Please ensure your companion is properly secured during transport to the preserve." "She will be," Mira stated, and was it my imagination, or did the corners of her mouth twitch slightly? "She is very well behaved." The day of the field examination dawned. We assembled at the transport platform, each accompanied by our assigned security companion. Sixara had a Corian enforcer, essentially a sentient tank adorned with teeth. Dreximus possessed a Voltari shock trooper, capable of generating enough electrical discharge to immobilize a battle cruiser. I was paired with a standard Academy guard, a professional Fenarian, clad in body armor and wielding a plasma lance. Mira arrived last, carrying a transport crate that appeared to weigh nearly as much as she did. "What does she have in there?" Slicker whispered. "A rodent, perhaps? One of those small Earth canines?" The crate emitted a sound, a low rumble that seemed to reverberate within my chest cavity. "Hoffman," Professor Kilver said, "what species is your companion?" "A mammal, Professor, Canis lupus familiaris, with some Canis lupus subspecies ancestry." Canine. I quickly accessed my datapad. Earth canines ranged from minute companion animals to my blood, which is green, by the way, ran cold as I read further. Hoffman, I articulated slowly, exactly how large is your pet? She met my gaze with those all-knowing eyes and smiled. Actually smiled, a wide, significant smile. That's when the crate began to shake. The transport crate rattled again, more forcefully this time, and every security companion on the platform instantly went on high alert. The Korean enforcer's armor plates shifted into a defensive posture. The Voltari shock trooper began to crackle with barely contained energy. My Thearian guard raised his plasma lance. Mira, the diminutive human who barely reached my thorax, calmly approached the crate and pressed her small hand against its reinforced door. "Easy, girl," she murmured softly. "Just a little longer." "Girl?" The creature within that crate sounded as though it could consume me whole, and she was referring to it as girl. "Miss Hoffman," Professor Kilverth stated, and for the first time since I had known him, the unflappable Matherian sounded uncertain. "Perhaps you might provide us with the precise dimensions of your companion before we proceed." "She's about 90 kilograms?" Mira said casually. "Maybe a bit more, since I've been giving her extra treats. And she stands approximately 70 centimeters at the shoulder." I performed the conversion in my head. That was enormous for an Earth creature supposedly domesticated. "That is larger than the human," Slicker gasped. "Yes," Mira agreed. "She's a big girl. Grew bigger than the breeder expected, actually. Something about the genetic testing not properly accounting for the wolf percentage." Wolf. I recognized that word. I had read about Earth predators during my xenobiology studies. Wolves were pack hunters, apex predators before humans domesticated them. Except, from what I understood, the domestication was incomplete, more akin to a partnership between two predatory species. "This is highly irregular," declared Administrator Telquith, who had arrived to oversee the transport. He was a Bravakian, a species renowned for their bureaucratic precision and utter inability to tolerate chaos. "The paperwork stated, companion animal, not," he consulted his datapad, "not a hybrid war beast." "She is not a war beast," Mira affirmed, her voice now imbued with steel. "She is my friend, and the paperwork was very clear about her species classification and size. Not my fault if nobody actually read it." Oh, that was calculated. I could see it now. The quiet human girl had been planning this, waiting for this moment, probably since the first day everyone had mocked her. "I read the documentation," Professor Kilver said mildly. "It was all in order. Miss Hoffman is well within her rights to bring her registered companion." Telquith appeared poised to argue, but one simply did not argue with Professor Kilver. The Matherian had been at the Academy longer than most of our species had achieved spaceflight. "Fine," Telquith conceded. "But if that creature causes any problems, any at all, it will be sedated and removed." "Clear?" "Crystal clear," Mira replied sweetly. Too sweetly. We boarded the transport, a large carrier designed to accommodate 50 students and their security details. The crate was loaded into the cargo hold, still shaking occasionally, still emitting those sounds that triggered my survival instincts. During the flight to the biopreserve, no one sat near Mira. She didn't seem to mind. She gazed out the viewport, humming something under her breath, and I realized with sudden clarity that she was excited. The human was excited. "This is insane," Dreximus muttered to me. "They let her bring a predator to a preserve full of other predators. What if it attacks someone?" "Then our security companions will handle it," I said, trying to project confidence. My Inarian guard had assured me he had dealt with dangerous fauna from 70 different worlds. Surely one Earth canine was not beyond his capabilities. Surely. We landed at the preserve entrance, a massive facility carved into the side of a mountain. The preserve itself stretched for hundreds of kilometers, encompassed multiple biomes, and housed some of the most perilous creatures in known space. It was perfectly safe, we had been assured, as long as you followed protocols and remained with your security detail. As we disembarked, Mira headed directly for the cargo hold. 2 loading servitors were attempting to move her crate with hoverlifts. "I can handle it from here," she informed them. "Miss, the crate is too heavy for— I said I can handle it." She pressed a button on the crate's control panel. The sides folded down, and we all instinctively recoiled several steps. The creature that emerged was— Look, I've confronted combat drones. I've witnessed Thoraxian battle cruisers. I once saw a Corian enforcer rip through a reinforced security door. None of that prepared me for what I saw when Mira's pet stepped out of that crate. She was immense. Not merely large, but gargantuan. Her fur was thick and dark, almost black, with hints of grey along her back. Her eyes, and this is what truly captivated me, her eyes were ice blue and disturbingly intelligent. Her teeth, visible when she panted, were designed for a single purpose: killing. But it was the way she moved that truly terrified me. Fluid, powerful, every step was controlled grace. It was like observing a perfectly engineered hunting machine, yet it merely resembled an oversized canine. "Everyone," Mira announced cheerfully, "this is Luna." They had named their apex predators, naturally. The wolf dog, for that was clearly its nature, settled beside Mira. Even seated, its head reached the girl's shoulder. The disparity in size was comical. Mira seemed more like potential prey than a companion. "She is," Slick started, unable to complete the phrase. "Beautiful," Mira finished for him. "I know. Best girl in the galaxy. Yes, you are." She lovingly scratched the formidable creature behind its ears. Its tail, thick as my arm, gave a gentle wag. "That thing is a predator," Korek stated the obvious. "Yes," Mira conceded. "Humans and canines evolved in tandem. We hunted together, survived together. They guarded our camps, and we provided them with food and shelter. It's called symbiosis. You might want to jot that down for the exam." Her sarcasm was not lost on anyone. Professor Kailavar approached, displaying either immense bravery or complete folly. Luna's eyes tracked his movement, but she remained steadfastly by Mira's side. "Remarkable specimen," he observed. "The musculature alone is—" "You can try," Mira interjected. "Luna, friend." The professor extended a tendril. Luna sniffed it, then, to my utter astonishment, licked it. "Fascinating," Kailavar murmured. "The bonding mechanism between human and canine is even more profound than scientific literature suggests." "She trusts you completely, and I trust her," Mira stated simply. We commenced our trek into the preserve, spreading out in groups, each accompanied by our security details. The preserve's initial biome was a dense forest, hosting creatures from 6 different worlds. Somewhere in the distance, a roar echoed. Luna's ears twitched, and her entire body tensed, yet she remained perfectly aligned with Mira's pace. "Your security companion seems quite vigilant," Professor Kailavar remarked. "She knows her job," Mira replied. We hiked for an hour, observing various species, taking notes, all the while attempting to ignore the profound discomfort caused by the tiny human and her enormous predator. Several herbivores we encountered immediately fled at the sight of Luna. "Interesting," Professor Kilveth noted. The prey species instantly recognized the threat profile. Wolves are ambush predators, Mira explained, now sounding like a lecturer. They hunt in packs, coordinate attacks, and can pursue prey for hours. Most herbivores possess an innate ability to recognize predators. Luna, well, she's not exactly subtle. As if to underscore the point, Luna yawned, revealing a set of teeth that would inspire envy in a Krathian warrior. The incident occurred in the second biome, a rocky canyon environment. We were observing a pack of Rexian cliff hunters, six-legged reptilian creatures renowned for their aggressive territorial behavior. They were supposed to be behind a containment barrier. Supposed to be. The first indication of trouble was when Drexelis's shock trooper abruptly activated his defensive systems. "Containment breach," the Vari announced. "Multiple hostiles approaching." 3 Vraxian cliff hunters emerged from behind a rock formation, having clearly escaped their designated zone. Each was roughly the size of a hovercar, covered in armored scales and visibly enraged. "Security protocols," Professor Killiverth calmly instructed, though I noticed his tendrils had stiffened. "Everyone behind your security companions, now!" We hastily formed a defensive line. The security guards advanced, weapons poised. The Vraxians hissed, a sound like tearing metal, and began to circle. "They are assessing us," Slick Sara whispered, "looking for the weakest target." Their eyes, all 6 per creature, fixed on Mira. Of course they did. She was small, appeared defenseless, and stood slightly apart from the main group. The perfect target. The largest Vraxian tensed, ready to strike. Luna moved with impossible speed. One moment she was calmly seated beside Mira. The next, she was between the girl and the Vraxian. And the sound that emanated from her throat was neither a bark nor a howl. It was a warning, from one apex predator to another. The sound was low, resonant, primal, conveying without words that attacking would be the Vraxian's last mistake. The Vraxian paused, its small brain clearly struggling to process the situation. The tiny, soft creature had a protector, and that protector was not retreating. "Luna! Guard!" Mira said softly. The wolf dog's stance shifted. Her hackles rose, making her appear even larger. Her lips drew back, exposing every single one of her killing teeth. Her unsettling blue eyes never left the Rexian. The second Rexian attempted to circle, trying to flank them. Luna tracked it without moving her body, only her head, and repeated that guttural sound. This was not a pet. This was a warrior. "Fascinating," Professor Killiver whispered. "The pack coordination instinct. The human is her pack, and she will defend it to the death." "Our security companions should intervene," Draximus proffered, but I noticed none of them were moving. They were watching, assessing, likely asking themselves the same question I was. Who would prevail in a fight? Their trained security personnel, or one very determined Earth predator? The Vraxians made their decision. The largest one lunged at Mira, covering the distance in an instant, claws extended, mouth agape. Luna met it midair. What transpired next defies adequate description. It was violent. It was brutal. It was over in seconds. Luna struck the Rexian like a missile, her jaws clamping onto its throat with a precision that spoke of thousands of generations of predatory evolution. They rolled, a tangle of fur and scales and rage. When they separated, the Rexian was limping, bleeding from multiple wounds, and emitting whimpers of pain. Luna stood between it and Mira, blood on her muzzle, daring it to try again. It did not. None of them did. The 3 Vraxians retreated, actually retreated from a creature 1/3 their size. "Good girl," Mira said, as calmly as if Luna had merely fetched a ball. "Very good girl." Luna's tail wagged once, then she resumed her guard position, still watching the direction the Vraxians had fled. The ensuing silence was deafening. Every single individual on that preserve, student and security guard alike, was staring at the small human and her not at all small companion. "I believe," Professor Kilovar said slowly, "we should file an incident report about the containment breach." "Yes," Administrator Telq with agreed, his voice trembling slightly. "And perhaps we should reconsider our assessment protocols for companion animals." No one laughed at Mira after that. No one even spoke to her disrespectfully. The remainder of the field examination passed without incident, mainly because wherever we went, other creatures took one look at Luna and decided they had urgent business elsewhere. On the transport back, something shifted. Slixara sat across from Mira. "Your companion," the Venxian said carefully. "She is impressive." "Thank you," Mira replied. "How long have humans had this?" Slix searched for the word. Partnership. "About 30,000 years, give or take," Mira stated. "We were both predators, both social, both intelligent enough to recognize that working together was better than competing. So we did." 30,000 years, I repeated. That was longer than the recorded history for most spacefaring species. "Humans don't just domesticate animals," Mira continued, and I realized she was imparting a crucial lesson. "We bond with them. We make them family. Luna isn't my pet. She's my friend, my protector, my responsibility. And I am hers." "But you are so—" Draximus struggled for the words. "Your species is not physically powerful. You do not have natural weapons or armor. How did you become the dominant species on your world?" Mira smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone who held a secret. "We didn't do it alone," she said. "Humans are persistence hunters. We outlast our prey. We track them for days until they collapse from exhaustion. And we didn't hunt alone. We had dogs. We had strategy. We had tools. We had community. Physical strength isn't everything, Draximus. Intelligence is important, yes, but you know what's more important?" "What?" I asked. "Loyalty, trust, the ability to form bonds across species lines. You see a human and think we are weak because we need tools, need clothing, need help. But we are the only species that turned our biggest competitor, the wolf, into our greatest ally. We are the only species that looks at dangerous predators and says, 'You know what? I'm going to make friends with that.' And it works because we understand something that most species don't." "What is that?" Professor Kilveth inquired. "That no species survives alone. Every species needs allies, partners, friends. Humans just got very, very good at making them." Luna's tail wagged again, as if in agreement. The semester continued. Mira still struggled with physical tasks, still had to work twice as hard to reach equipment, still got tired faster than everyone else during field exercises. But nobody made jokes about it anymore. Partly because Luna was often somewhere nearby, watching, mostly because we had learned an important lesson. Physical strength matters, intelligence matters, but the ability to inspire loyalty, to form bonds, to turn a creature that could kill you into a creature that would die for you, that was power of a different kind entirely. Mira graduated at the top of our class. Her thesis on cross-species bonding and cooperative evolution earned the Galactic Academy's highest honors. Luna was present for the ceremony, wearing a bow Mira had tied around her neck, looking utterly ridiculous and absolutely deadly at the same time. Professor Killiver's graduation address remains vivid in my memory. He remarked that we frequently gauge intellect by scholarly accomplishments and physical prowess by bodily aptitude. However, perhaps casting a glance at Mira, he ventured that true discernment should be evaluated by the insight that our collective strength surpasses our individual capacities. A wave of applause swept through the audience, punctuated by Luna's howl, her distinctive contribution. Years have since passed, and I now pursue a career as a xenobiologist, focusing on the intricacies of predator behavior. My collaborations with Mira are intermittent. She manages a research outpost on a colonial planet, investigating the cohabitation of diverse species. Luna, alas, departed during the last cycle, her magnificent life succumbing to the inevitable march of time. Mira's grief was profound and sincere, as is characteristic of humans. Eventually, she welcomed a new companion, another canid, smaller than Luna, yet equally perceptive. She christened her Nova, for humans possess an unwavering commitment to connections. Even upon their dissolution, they simply forge new ones, new affiliations, new familial ties to cherish. This, I believe, is precisely why they are poised to endure beyond us all. Not due to superior might or intellect, but because they grasp, more profoundly than any species I have encountered, that survival is not a solitary endeavor, but a communal enterprise. Therefore, should you ever encounter a human, particularly a diminutive one, who appears out of step and overwhelmed, recall the lesson imparted to me that day in the biopreserve. Do not assess them by their stature. Do not ridicule their apparent vulnerability, and under no circumstances underestimate their potential when their bonds are jeopardized. For while humans may not possess the ability to dismantle you themselves, I assure you, they are acquainted with those who can.